the greatest hostage rescue and intelligence coup in history. Hi, everyone. Hi there. This is the incredible story of how a former Navy SEAL rescued 17 people from being kidnapped. This is also one of the most unbelievable stories I've ever heard, and it will keep you on the edge of your seat for the entire 24 minutes. From a hostage wanting to go home to a Navy SEAL almost getting stabbed to death. You are not going to want to miss this. Let's go. So this video was posted by the official channel of the Colombian National Army. It was filmed in Colombia on December 3, 2021. Two men can be seen approaching a wooden door. Then they kick the door open and shout, "Get down on the ground right now." They then enter the building and can be seen rounding up all the hostages. As they do this, one of the hostages yells out, "Help me." However, the hostage takers just ignore him and start forcing them all outside. Once outside, they make all the hostages line up against the wall, while they keep watch over them. As you'll soon see, this is not your typical hostage situation. One of the hostages, identified only as Hilos, can be seen kneeling down with his head on the ground. One of the men asks, "Do you want to go home?" To which Hilos replies, "Yes, I want to go home very much." The man says, "Okay, here you go," and he pats him on the back. This is where things get crazy. Suddenly, one of the other hostage takers, identified only as Caesar, grabs the guy and pulls him away from the group. He then pulls out a knife and starts threatening him with it. Caesar tells him, "You're not going anywhere. You're staying here with us." Hilos responds, "No, I don't want to stay here. I want to go home." Caesar continues to threaten him with the knife, but Hilos refuses to back down. "I want to go home," he says. One of the hostage takers then grabs Hilos and tries to pull him away from the group. But before he can do anything, another man runs over and punches him in the face. The two men then start fighting each other, as the other hostages look on in horror. This goes on for a few seconds before the first man gets away. He then runs over to the hostages and tells them, "Break free, break free." The hostages are clearly confused at this point, but they eventually start breaking their bonds. One of the hostages even uses a rock to smash the padlock that was holding him captive. However, Caesar is not happy about this. He starts yelling at the hostages, but the man who punched him in the face tells him to calm down. He then grabs one of the hostages and tries to take her with him, but before he can do anything, another man runs over and tackles him to the ground. The two men start fighting and it looks like it's going to get physical. However, the man who tackled him eventually gets on top of him and holds a knife to his throat. He tells him, "It's over, brother, it's over." Caesar can be seen crying as the man holds the knife to his throat. He then asks him, "Why did you do this?" But Caesar just keeps crying and doesn't answer. The man who tackled Caesar then gets off him and walks away. He then turns to the camera and says, "This is the moment of truth. We have come to rescue you. We are from the Colombian National Army. We are here to save your lives." He then tells the hostages to run away as fast as they can. They do, and some of them are clearly terrified. One of the women can be heard screaming in the video, "They're shooting at me." However, it doesn't appear that anyone is injured. The former Navy SEAL then turns his attention back to Caesar. He tells him, "Your time is running out. Get on the ground right now." But Caesar refuses, and instead stands up and starts yelling at the soldiers. The man then draws his gun and points it at Caesar, telling him, "Don't move or I will shoot." But Caesar doesn't listen and instead lunges at the man. The man fires his gun and hits Caesar in the shoulder. Caesar falls to the ground in pain and the man walks over to him and handcuffs him. He then tells him, "Don't move or I will shoot." The man then turns to the camera and says, "This is the second most important intelligence coup in our country's history. Only the rescue of the Palace of Justice ranks higher." He then tells the hostages that they are free to go and that the Colombian army has rescued them from their captors. The video ends with the hostages running away from the scene, and the man who led the rescue operation walking towards the camera with his weapon raised. He is clearly a hero and has saved the lives of many innocent people. So what do you think? Do you know anyone who has ever been held hostage? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Now let us take a closer look at some of the things that happened during this dramatic hostage rescue. At the beginning of the video, we see two men entering a building and shouting for everyone to get on the ground. These two men are members of the Colombian National Army who have come to rescue the hostages. The hostages clearly don't know what's going on at first, but they eventually comply and get on the ground. One of the hostages, identified only as Hilos, can be seen kneeling down with his head on the ground. One of the men asks him if he wants to go home. And this is where things get really interesting. Hilos obviously wants to go home, but he's not sure if he should trust these men. He eventually agrees, and the man pats him on the back and tells him, "Here you go." But before Hilos can make a move, another man grabs him and pulls him away from the group. He pulls out a knife and starts threatening him with it. "You're not going anywhere," he says. "You're staying here with us." Hilos is clearly scared at this point, but he refuses to back down. "I want to go home," he says. One of the hostage takers then grabs Hilos and tries to pull him away from the group. But before he can do anything, another man runs over and punches him in the face. The two men then start fighting each other, and it looks like it's going to get physical. However, the man who threw the punch eventually gets away. He then runs over to the hostages and tells them to break free from their restraints. As you can imagine, the hostages are pretty confused at this point, but they eventually start breaking their bonds. One of the hostages even uses a rock to smash the padlock that was holding him captive. This makes one of the hostage takers really angry, and he starts yelling at the hostages. But the man who threw the punch earlier tells him to calm down. He then grabs one of the hostages and tries to take her with him. But before he can do anything, another man runs over and tackles him to the ground. The two men start fighting, and it looks like it's going to get physical. However, the man who tackled him eventually gets on top of him and holds a knife to his throat. "It's over, brother," he says. "It's over." Caesar can be seen crying at this point, and the man asks him why he did this, but Caesar doesn't answer. The man then gets off him and walks away. He then turns to the camera and tells everyone that it's the moment of truth and that they have come to rescue the hostages. If you've been watching closely, you might have noticed a few interesting things during this part of the video. For example, it seems like the Colombian soldiers knew exactly what was going on inside the building. They knew where the hostages were being held and what was happening to them. This suggests that they had some kind of intelligence operation in place before they launched the rescue mission. Additionally, it seems like some of the soldiers knew some of the hostages personally. For example, the man who threw the punch earlier in the video seems to know Hilos personally. This could have made the rescue operation more difficult, but it's possible that it also helped the soldiers to better understand what was going on. The soldiers eventually managed to rescue all of the hostages, and no one was injured during the operation. This is a true testament to the bravery and skill of the Colombian National Army. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my channel for more exciting content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.